Hi there, good day, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, all of it, all-encompassing. My name is Jake Query, that is Derek Schultz, who has a stupid stoic grin on his face, as he normally does. And this is the Query and Schultz program here on the ISC Sports Network, presented by Bailey & Wood. And Derek, we love Bailey & Wood. We're thankful for Bailey & Wood, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're thankful for all our sponsors, but also it helps that you get like a little Thanksgiving orange here.
Fabulous.
A little bit. Little Thanksgiving orange for Bailey & Wood. 855-350-HOME.
What does Thanksgiving orange mean?
BAWFG.com.
Orange is more a Halloween color.
No, like a harvesty, like darker orange would be Thanksgiving. Wouldn't you agree?
Sure.
Like brown, orange, maybe a little red, maybe a little yellow in there for Thanksgiving.
It's very nice.
So we got a little bit of all of that on this set here. You got your yellow Polar Pop over there. The desk is brown. We don't have any. Yeah, the red for IUPUI. There you go. See?
Do you want to start over?
Holidayed out. No, we're good. I think it's a great start to the show. I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, is it new?
It is.
Yeah, I like it. Sharp.
You know, I've been noticing lately.
You look handsome.
This new materials that my nipples stick out.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I have noticed in pictures of us a lot of times. It's like, hello, that they're out there. Yeah.
You're looking at my nipples?
Well, it's hard to miss because they're just kind of out there.
I'm like Farrah Fawcett.
Can you get guards for that? Like, could you wear?
I think like
could you wear like their male
like
nipple
Band-Aids maybe?
Holders, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I don't know. The bro's ear? The man's ear?
Yeah, I never worry about, like, mine aren't, a little bit. It's a little chilly
Just wait.
in here. It's a little chilly, but you don't usually see mine kind of protrude through like that.
Well, I'll tell you what. The Colts had a bye week,
protrude.
but Derek, the good news for the Colts in a bye week is that there was enough. I don't know, maybe they kind of stayed status quo, but some of the teams that it feels like Indianapolis is going to have to contend with, fight for a wild card spot against, they're kind of falling back a little bit. I mean, when you look at the Colts, so the Colts in their bye week took the week off. They went on vacation. They went back to high school games. They went to college games, whatever it might be. And in that time, they sat back and they saw, for example, the injury to Joe Burrow, Cincinnati essentially taking, this is like an election in the primaries where people just start dropping out.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Raiders really going to be a contender to stick around? Yeah. The Texans look like they're probably going to stick around.
Yeah.
Cleveland with the Deshaun Watson situation, they got a great defense, but are they going to stick around the whole time? So it looks like things might be opening up a little bit for the Colts.
Yeah, I think you could talk yourself into the Colts mainly because no game looks unwinnable. Every game looks winnable. Every game looks losable.
Right.
If that makes sense from here on out, because that's just kind of where, especially the AFC is, where you have, I think, a lot of good teams. Like, I think the Browns are good. I think the Jaguars are good. I think the Bills are good. I don't think they're great.
They also, all those teams that you mentioned have goose egg days, though.
Yeah, exactly. The Dolphins, do they scare you? When they're right, I guess so. But even the Chiefs aren't as scary as vintage Chiefs teams from the last couple of years. So I think with where we are kind of going into the home stretch, you have to feel pretty good about where the Colts are at 5-5. Everything is still right there in front of them. You could talk me into them 7-10. You could talk me into them 10-7.
Yeah, you're right.
And really kind of everything in between.
One of the storylines for the Colts that's going to be a talk of conversation around your Thanksgiving table for certain. And it will not. We are taping this on Tuesday morning. You'll be watching this Tuesday evening. What I'm about to mention will be airing later Tuesday evening. Many people will probably watch it streaming on Wednesday. But have you seen the excerpts or read about the Jim Irsay interview?
I did, yeah. The big headline grabber is him kind of getting defensive about his arrest from, what was that, 10 years ago, 2014?
Right.
Did it end up being an OWI? Is that what it ended up being? Because it was
a misdemeanor.
Drugs in his system, correct?
Right.
So that's not DUI.
I think that's
Do
right.
I have that right? Okay. Need to call our Rick's old friend John Tompkins or something and figure out, the verbiage around that. I saw that was a headline grabber, but what I appreciate about Irsay, and this is going to kind of spoil what's coming up with one of our features today, is he's willing to be honest, and I think he thinks that his story can help people, and I appreciate that. But part of me, even if Irsay's telling the truth about him being on the hip meds and that was the reason that he got pulled over or that he got targeted, which I don't believe. But let's just take him for his word. I don't think he does himself any favors by presenting that story to the public. I think that's something that you keep to yourself.
Here's the thing. When Jim Irsay was pulled over, and I know it's been 10 years ago, but it's been brought back in the news because of Jim Irsay's interview. But when he says, look, I was pulled over and I was targeted because there's a prejudice against me because I'm a rich white billionaire. The reality is this. That's a little tone deaf. I do think he's a good person. I do think that he pulls back the curtain on some of the challenges he had in a very unstable upbringing, and one that, especially from, his mother said something to him when he was younger that it would be difficult for anybody to overcome emotionally. He gets into that in the interview. But for people to say, and I did see this, and I think that his courage in overcoming addiction repeatedly, I remember several years ago when, I won't say who, but somebody you and I did a show with told us that they had heard that Jim Irsay had passed basically, and was brought back from an overdose. And any time that question was asked, it was that's no one's business. That's a private issue, which is all true. But he confirmed that story to be true. And his challenges, his addictions, and his illness at times being potentially fatal to him, while a private disease, is also somewhat of a public issue because he runs a franchise that to an extent is worth what it is due to public subsidy.
Yeah.
And so I do think that people have a right to know what's going on with the person who holds the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, me too. And I appreciate the honesty and the mystery girlfriend that overdosed. Remember there was this shroud of secrecy over who is she and were they still dating at the time, and where was she getting money for a drug? Things like that. There was all this question about that, and he apparently opens up about that in the interview too. But I just think, Jake, Irsay has a good heart. He means well, but he falls into the trap that all rich people and important, powerful people fall into, and that's the fact that no one ever tells them no. No one ever tells them, no, you know what? You're wrong. And so I don't blame him for being defensive about his arrest, because if Jim Irsay goes to the people around him and is like, you know what, they targeted me. What are they saying to him? That's right, sir. Yeah, you were targeted. Yeah, absolutely, right. Sir. Right. Yeah, I mean, you're the victim here, right, sir. Right?
Right.
That's what those guys hear. Elon Musk and those guys, you think people are saying, hey, man, you're kind of an idiot for changing the brand recognition of Twitter to X? They're not saying that. They're saying, no, Mr. Musk, yeah, this is a great idea. Yeah, let's call it X. Yeah, hop in the spaceship. Let's go.
Do you call it X? Does anybody?
X/Twitter. But the thing is, they're still tweets, right? That's never going to change. I can call it X.
They're posts. But reposted.
Facebook is posts. That's the problem. Right. They've already planted the flag on posts.
What about that Threads deal? That's dead, right?
Pretty much. But you know what? I think has a little bit of potential. And I got way into Threads for like 48 straight hours. Like I just binged Threads. Like I didn't sleep. I just stayed up. Like I just did. Yeah.
Okay.
I just like Threads. Like June 17th, 18th, and 19th. That's basically all I didn't shower. That's all I did for 3 days was Threads. Blue Sky, I think, has some potential. Do you need an invite code? Because I have one.
What is Blue Sky?
Blue Sky is kind of like the next Twitter. But right now, you need an invite code to sign up. And there are only like 8 people on it. But there's a lot of potential for growth.
Who runs this?
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah. So I just gave them all my personal information, birth date, social security, and all of that. I don't actually know who runs the site, but I'm hoping that it could maybe become a thing.
So you just sent all your info to Kazakhstan?
Driver's license picture, all of that, yeah.
What was the one that was
medical records?
What was the one for a thing for a while there that you had to have an invite code and it was like group conversations?
A Mastodon? Is that what the one you're thinking of?
No. Who was our friend on Twitter, Betty?
Oh,
she was constantly
Clubhouse
trying to get
was the audio one,
yeah.
And that had this big bump during COVID for like 2 weeks. Clubhouse was a thing, and then it,
yeah.
And Twitter started Spaces and all of that. Remember, like everybody else started doing it, and then Clubhouse kind of went away. Yeah.
Remember the Google Hangout?
Google Hangout. I remember Google Plus. They were a little before the time, though, because Google Plus was the first one that I remember that had kind of like that Zoom interface.
Right.
Where you could talk to multiple people at the same time.
Derek, our friend, occasional caller Keith, He has partnered up with somebody or friends with somebody. I know this will shock you, but that has developed and invented a T-shirt that, when put onto a screen, looks exactly like a suit.
Oh, wow.
Like you can't tell it's a
green
T-shirt.
Screen T-shirt?
Yeah, you can't tell it's a T-shirt.
Huh.
So it's perfect for Zooms and whatever else.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, he's like,
I literally
for 3 weeks he's been trying to drop one off to me.
Maybe I shouldn't admit this. I don't know how many of my coworkers actually watch the show. Maybe like Trevor, a couple of others. But I did. I'm basically fully remote with Purdue, and I did all of my calls yesterday, including a cabinet meeting with leadership for the Indianapolis transition. I had a button-down dress shirt or whatever and jammy pants.
Of course.
Yeah, like the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
And I looked real good, like professional.
It's like being a
party down
television
here.
news anchor.
No shoes.
Yeah.
Just
TV news
just
anchor.
socks. Jammies.
The Colts, Derek, one of the big, I guess, headlines, if you will, for this week coming off of the bye. Jelani Woods looks like he may be out for the year, actually. Jelani Woods has had another setback with not the hamstring he was nursing, but now another hamstring, which would be the other. You have two of them. There had been word at the beginning of the year that Jelani Woods simply was not in shape, and that was what was holding him back or why his body wasn't responding. But either way, a guy that had a great opportunity at the tight end position is a big body, played, obviously coming out of Virginia, was thought to be a big target. And that in a position that was a crowded room in the tight ends, it does feel like you kind of have some separation now of figuring out, whether it be Drew Ogletree or Kylan Granson. Like those two have kind of separated from the rest of the tight ends, in my opinion. But Jelani Woods missing this year, I think, really hurts him.
Yeah, it's disappointing because and you've been teased that he's coming back,
Right.
and then to not have it happen, that's always Colts. I don't follow the other 31 NFL teams as closely as I do the Colts. It feels like the Colts have an abnormal amount of injuries where the status is he's close, and then they never play again. You know what I mean? That season, they end up on IR.
If it were a must-win, he'd be playing this season. That's always my favorite.
Maybe that's just the cynic in me. Maybe I'm being overly pessimistic, but it feels like the Colts have a lot of those over the years where, guys that seemingly it's a minor thing, it becomes somehow a major thing. But I'm real happy that we kind of talked about it last week. I'm happy with where the pass catchers are. I don't think that you can look at a sheet of paper and say, okay, this is what Alec Pierce has done. This is what Downs, Pittman, Ogletree, Granson, Mo Ali Cox have done, and grade that properly. I think you have to actually kind of look game to game and see, are they getting separation? Are they making themselves available and
The
open?
one they need to get going is Pierce.
But I think that the problem with Pierce not getting going is not necessarily a Pierce problem as much as it is this is just an offense that can't get vertical.
That may be fair.
It's kind of like what happened last year, where it's an offense that can't get down the field. So Michael Pittman ends up with what he ended up with last year, like 80 catches for 900 and something yards, and you're like, well, where's the big plays? It's like the big plays aren't really there because they don't have a quarterback that can push the ball down the field. Gardner Minshew can't get the ball down the field, and so I think, in order to unlock Pierce, you're going to have an offense that gets vertical, and that's probably not going to happen until they have Anthony Richardson back behind center.
It'll be interesting to see what does happen with Richardson. Just how much do they have to, the offense that they're running, and that's what I think we have to keep in mind, Eric. When we look this year at the receivers, the running game, whatever it may be, and we say, like, well, this guy's developing, this guy's not, et cetera, you also have to wonder how much of the offense that is being run right now resembles what they're going to run when Anthony Richardson's there. You know what I mean? I mean, is it possible that they have a guy running that's zigging while once Richardson comes back, it's an offense that does nothing but zag? I mean, that's one of the areas you have to look at.
Yeah, it's just it's the true disappointment of this season. Like, the Colts could do some great things here. They can make the playoffs. They could win a playoff game, and you still feel like this is a season where you lost something because you didn't get to see Richardson for 16, 17 games,
right.
Because that's what this season was supposed to be about. It wasn't supposed to be about winning games and making the playoffs. It was supposed to be about developing your quarterback. So there's always going to be something missing there. But I think, Jake, the answer to your question is that they will cater it around Richardson's strengths. And aren't you confident that Shane Steichen's the guy that's going to be able to do that? Hasn't he shown that, I think, so far, that he can do that? I think what's interesting in evaluating Richardson is that the Colts aren't unique here. Like the Bengals are going through this with Joe Burrow.
Oh,
there have been quarterback injuries all across the board right now. So this isn't just a Colts problem or, Richardson's injury prone. Well, is Burrow injury prone then? Does Joe Burrow need to slide more?
One of the interesting things
it's just something that happens.
One of the interesting things from this year, excuse me, is that a year ago, Sam Ehlinger at one point was, by the owner, it was basically edicted that he was going to be the starter for the rest of the year. Now, in year 2, when you had a rookie quarterback that nobody knew how much he was actually going to start, you still have Sam Ehlinger on the roster, but yet he wasn't even trusted to be the backup. It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's a little odd. That rule about the third quarterback being able to carry it, I think helps a little bit. But yeah, it's been weird. But what's astonishing to me is, and some of this is injury related, how poor the quarterback play really has been. Like even the guys that have been the full-time starters who are supposed to be good, like Kenny Pickett is bad.
Right.
Like he's not been a good quarterback.
It is amazing. Like all of a sudden you see games, Derek, where like big-time quarterbacks are throwing for like 180 yards.
Yeah. And every game is last night. Every game is 21-17. Pretty much.
Yeah.
You have some exceptions to the rule, but
poor Patrick Mahomes
pretty much
down
every
the
game is
stretch.
21-17.
The Chiefs, man. Mahomes put 2 up right in the breadbasket for guys on that last drive, and nothing.
Yeah, you got to invest in that spot. I think the feeling was, well, Mahomes is good enough that we can put just about anybody out there and they'll be fine. And the Chiefs have put just about anybody out there and they've been not good.
Right.
I mean, they lead the league in drops by like a
he put
margin.
He put 2 of them right where it needed to be.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way,
it's
can we get
bad.
to our sandwich?
Yeah, let's do it.
It smells great.
Hoagies and Hops. Hoagie and Hero of the Week brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops. 42nd and Boulevard, southwestern edge of Midtown. Just putting a little...
Nobody says Midtown.
OO on here, a little oil. Before I reveal it. Oh, yeah, that's good. Soak it in the lettuce. Delicious. This is the old standby. This is the thing that started it all for Christina. This was the motivation to opening Hoagies and Hops in the first place. Way back in, I think it was 2015. I think she's got 8 years under her belt. The Hog Island. So you have the ham, salami, prosciutto, gabagool, prove, LTOOO.
Derek, nobody knows what those stupid
Delicious.
acronyms are. What is?
Oh, I got oil.
What is prove?
Provolone.
What's gabagool?
Cool. You can say it like that. People will laugh at you. It's like saying...
What is it? What is it again?
Gabagool.
What is that?
Capicola. But it'd be like calling Lebanon, Indiana, Lebanon. Or Russiaville, Russiaville.
Nobody would do that.
Well, yeah, people that don't know would do it. But capicola, which is actually what it's called, the Italian way to say it is gabagool.
Okay.
So, like, if I were to step into a deli in the tri-state or something like that, or anywhere, Philly, whatever else.
Evansville?
No, tri-state is, everyone knows tri-state is New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. Notorious B.I.G. rapped about it. Notorious B.I.G. never said tri-state for freaking Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana.
Cincinnati?
No.
I guarantee if you listen to a weather forecast in Cincinnati, they're like, tomorrow in the tri-state.
Oh, yeah, weather forecast, yeah, but a multi-platinum hip-hop legend? Or no? So the tri-state is Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. You would walk in, and if you wanted capicola on your sandwich, they would laugh at you if you said capicola. You say gabagool.
What tri-state? New York, New Jersey, and what?
Connecticut. Obviously.
Nobody thinks of Connecticut as a tri-state.
Tri-state.
Nobody thinks that.
The tri-state is Connecticut, New Jersey, New York.
But nobody even associates Connecticut being near New Jersey.
Absolutely they do.
People there might.
Absolutely they do, yeah.
Tri-state is Cincinnati.
I mean, I never thought that Ohio bordered West Virginia until I looked at a map when I was like 19. And I was like, oh my God, Ohio borders West Virginia. Like those states don't seem to link at all. And then I spent time in Ohio and I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of get it. I spent more time there. It's like, all right, yeah, fine. Hero of the Week, Jim Irsay. We kind of talked about it already. Sorry to spoil the surprise. But I just think even when you're rich, even when you're famous, in some cases, especially when you're rich and famous, to kind of put yourself out there and be vulnerable and tell your story and think that it helps people. I mean, I don't think Irsay is doing it for kicks. I think he's doing it because he thinks he might help someone. And for his flaws, and he has flaws, we're all flawed, but certainly Jim Irsay has some flaws. He, I think, genuinely is a good person. I'm not going to pretend to know him very well, but from kind of being in this sphere for a long time, I think you can make a determination on who somebody is by their actions and what you hear about them behind the scenes. And I think that's always been my opinion of him. So I appreciate him doing this, even if I think getting defensive about the arrest for 10 years ago is a no-win situation for him. I really don't understand bringing it up at all, to be totally honest with you.
I think he's a well-intended person. I think he has, by his own admission, some pretty dark demons.
Yeah. I think he sticks his foot in his mouth sometimes.
Yeah, to say the least, yeah.
Sometimes. Also, we have our Chili Water Brew of the Week. Alexis and the Chili Water folks are real happy about the direct quote. They appreciate it. Actually, I'm trying to remember what her exact words were. The journalistic integrity of the show to quote her exactly by saying that the German Pilsner was a really good Pilsner. So you made fun of me about that, but our friends at Chili Water Tap Room, 42nd and
We're
Boulevard.
professional broadcasters.
Appreciate that.
F-bombs.
This is the One Hop Wonder, the India Pale Ale, and one of their core beers at Chili Water. So anytime you're in Chili Water, you can get a One Hop Wonder.
I'll tell you what, though, the Chili Water is not a one hop wonder, though. Not a one-hit wonder either. Every beer is fabulous. But who doesn't love an IPA, right?
It's good, yeah. I'm not even, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even really an IPA guy, but this is a really, really good. This and the really Loose good. Juicy. I mean, they know what
Here's
they're doing.
Here's the thing that I like about that. That's got, you can taste the hop, but not with a bite. You know, a lot of times you taste the hops and then it just kind of, it's like pine needles in your sinus. It's not that at all.
Yeah.
It's pretty smooth.
It's robust. The hops are a lot like the gabagool on the sandwich, where you can kind of pick that out of all of it. Like the hops are the highlight for this, and the gabagool is the highlight for the hog, I think.
It's robust, not robust.
A really good gabagool. And the pro, really good. We come back on the show. Basketball talk.
Would you like for me to do this, Derek?
Pacers. Another in-season tournament game coming. Offense, defense has been a little bit like this. IU, Purdue, Butler.
The defense, there's no
early impressions. And love that play and plenty more to get to here. Corey and Schultz, stick around here on the ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz. ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us today. Sunday night, Jake and I, like we are right now, we're in the same building.
That's right.
Pacers and Magic. Went and bought some seats with my buddy Clark, my old IU roommate, and his little boy Foster, who's a year younger than James. They both go to STA. And we got second row balcony seats. Because I don't even think you need to sit close.
I'd agree.
Especially with kids, and then they can kind of operate themselves and interact with the video boards and do all of that. Unfortunately, we had the poor timing of seeing by far the Pacers' worst performance of the season.
Unbelievable.
They just got blitzed. And Orlando's better this year.
They are.
They're
Actually,
a better team.
Orlando was impressive, but you have certain games, Derek, with any team in any sport where you just go, man, this is just the roof caved in.
It's not your night.
And it's not your night. But, I mean, they got down like 13-2 or 15-2 right out of the box. And, you know, you're kind of thinking to yourself like, well, I mean, you know, these things always kind of even
NBA,
out.
yeah.
It never did.
No.
Brutal.
Even a 20-point lead in the NBA, like our friend Mark Monteith has this thing called the theorem, where the leads in the NBA are never safe, early NBA leads. And so you're thinking after the first quarter, you're like, whatever, this will be a 6-point game at halftime. And instead, the Magic extended it to
26-point game.
40 at one point. I mean, in an NBA game, when you get the lead to 40, this isn't Kansas playing Aberdeen Christian Tech State.
Derek, I'm going to do
the NBA.
I'm going to do a coach thing here. You ready?
Okay. You got to be here. You want me to adjust the mic?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to look right here, and I'll lower down so people can see me. Okay. If this is the basketball
Here, I'll
court,
stand too.
but I'm lowered down. I mean, I'm basically.
Is this bad for the cameras? Probably.
So if this is the basketball court, okay. So this is the half court. Okay. So this area
I've seen a basketball court.
So this area right here is the lane, okay.
Don't actually make contact with the screen though, just in case. You actually touch the screen, so Jordan will get real upset.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if this is the lane,
okay.
Orlando's coming down, and they'd cross the half court line right here, right?
Yep.
They'd make one pass to either elbow. Again, this is the lane, okay?
Yep, I see it.
One pass on either wing.
Okay.
They literally, typically when that happens, a team shot fakes, and then they either have somebody curling this way and they go to a three, or they try to get another entry pass for a better shot. Orlando literally on every possession was coming down, they go to the wing, and that person would make one fake this way and then drive right around to the basket. There was zero defense in this area of the court. And as a result of that, Orlando shot 71% at one point. Midway through the third quarter, they were still shooting 71% because every one of their shots was either here or here. And the basket's right here. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
Their defense, Derek, was absolutely turnstile. And Tyrese Halliburton is a great player. He's a fabulous player. And may well be, by the time it's said and done, the best player ever to play in the NBA for the Indiana Pacers in totality of his career. But long way to go for that. But he's got to start defending because you have to basically cut off the snake at the head, and that means the point guard or whoever's bringing the ball across. And Indiana is basically literally playing like bullfighting defense. They're just like, and they just it was – I've never seen anything like it. I mean, literally – and I'm not exaggerating. There had to be 8 to 10 possessions consecutively for Orlando where they made one pass and had a layup. It was unbelievable. And I'm like, can somebody guard, please? And they have good defenders. I mean, Andrew Nembhard, who was hurt, is a good on-ball defender. Bruce Brown is a good on-ball defender. Aaron Nesmith is a good defender.
Turner and Jackson, and there's some other guys
that
can at least block shots, play defense.
But, Turner and Jackson in that game, their problem was they were basically they were too vulnerable because they had to sit there and rim protect on every single play because people were coming at the rim on every single play. Abysmal defensive performance.
Yeah, it's got to be better than that. And Halliburton doesn't need to be a perfect player. He doesn't need to be prime Jordan where you're all defense and MVP. He's so good offensively that he still brings that to the table for you, but he's got to be at least a competent defender.
Right.
Reggie Miller was not known for his defense. Reggie Miller was a competent defender.
He was.
You know what I mean? Like
Reggie Miller was very good at putting himself in the right space.
Yeah, he wasn't a liability defensively. And I think, and this is not to single out Halliburton. The Pacers team, Pacers have a lot of guys that need to get better defensively. But yeah, I think Halliburton is kind of the ringleader in all that. But still, it's an 82-game season. Very likely if it's not the worst game that they play all year, it's going to be in the top 5, hopefully. So maybe we just saw one of the true outliers of the 82-game season.
You know who's a really good player? I've never really watched him before. You know who's a really good player?
Who?
Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
He's very multi-skill setted, but the thing I liked about him, this is what I liked about and you look for in a young player. Paolo Banchero is in, his second year, so technically speaking, he should be a junior in college. He's 6'10". He could score in a lot of different areas. He could hit turnarounds. But late in the game, when Orlando kind of had the game put away, there was at one point a review taking place, and everybody's just kind of standing on the floor. And I look over, and I see somebody come off the Orlando bench. I'm like, what's going on? And it's Paolo Banchero who went around and basically offered support and a quick high five to all 5 players on the floor, and then went back to the sidelines and sat down. And I'm like, that's a leader, right? Good player. I don't know anything about him other than during an F1 race he was mistaken for Patrick Mahomes as a rookie. But really good player, and I thought was impressive. And Orlando has good young pieces.
They're starting to get it right. They had a lot of misses mixed in there in recent years, like Mo Bamba and guys like that. But Jalen Suggs, who I don't think is as good of a player as I thought he was going to be.
Thought he was gonna,
it's
right.
still, he's fine. And Banchero looks like a really good player.
And
a
now,
piece to
is it
build
Wagner
on.
or Wagner?
Wagner.
Mo Wagner's a good player, too.
Yeah.
Athletic, big guy, good player. They've got some good young pieces.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Anthony has been a decent player for them. I'm trying to look through here some of the others.
Who's the kid from Arkansas?
that
Anthony
they've
Black?
actually drafted. God, I didn't know this. They technically drafted Sabonis, and then immediately that was a draft day
Really?
trade, obviously. But I
they
didn't know that.
They had 4 players from Michigan on their roster.
Wagner,
Yeah,
Caleb Houston.
yeah.
Who am I missing?
Wagner.
I said Wagner. Okay,
I know.
Caleb Houston.
Right, Wagner. And Juwan Howard's kid.
Oh, did he play? Every
Yeah.
Pacer play.
Late in the game.
Okay, yeah, every Pacer. It was the biggest 128-116 blowout in NBA history.
There are 2 Wagners. The 2 brothers are both there.
Oh, okay.
And then here's the thing about the mop-up minutes that is of not concern to me, concern to be disingenuous, but one eyebrow raised. Derek, when I was in high school, and this is such a bad comparison because there's no comparison between North Central High School basketball and the NBA. But when I was in high school as a freshman, I played freshman basketball at North Central. And when I would play pickup basketball, like everything was instinctive to me. I just knew where to go. Like, I don't know. Like, I had a flow to the game of basketball. It came naturally to me. But then I got to the high school level, and I'm playing an open gym with guys that were varsity, soon-to-be Division I players. Tony Barbie, Bill Gillis. And I'm playing in pickup basketball with those guys in open gym in the summertime. And the ball would come to me, and I was so, like, duck out of water, out of my element, that the game was too fast for me, and I would kind of freak out of like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with the ball? And I would often create turnovers or if the shot came to me, instead of just instinctively shooting it like I'd done in the driveway 1,000 times, I was thinking about my rotation. I was thinking about my release. So Jarris Walker looks like that guy. Like his first 3 shots were air balls. He looked like he was thinking the entire time and looking around like his head was on a swivel. I don't dispute that he's going to be a good player in the NBA, and I know that sometimes we think that because somebody's a high draft pick, that means they're supposed to be a contributor right away. They're going to take time with him, obviously, but he looks right now to be a guy that, understandably, I mean, he's a young guy, but he looks like he has a long way to go. He looks very, like, overwhelmed by the moment at this point. And you know what? I mean, Jeff Foster, Austin Crosher, those are 2 guys that didn't even play as rookies. They were basically redshirted. And that's probably what's taking place here. But just the comfort level and the familiarity with the speed of the game is a learning curve for him that has yet to really
Yeah, but this is kind of what the draft is. Like, sometimes you get a guy like Chris Duarte who can play right away, but his ceiling is right here.
Right.
And then you get somebody else who you
You're
got to
right.
wait on, but his ceiling is up here. So, yeah, it's still so early.
I mean,
for
they sent
Jarris
Antonio
Walker.
Davis to Europe for 2 years.
But
So,
but I was
you know,
under
I
the
get it.
impression that Walker was at least going to be ready to be a rotational player. He's not even he's not ready to do
Correct.
that.
That's correct.
And that's disappointing to me a little bit. I think that he's not even ready to be a rotational player. You want to talk some college hoop?
Sure.
Let's get our Love That Play first.
Love That Play, by the way, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is their website. 317-353-2141 for Love Heating and Air that's been in business in Indianapolis for over 100 years, serving Marion and the Donut Counties. Love Heating and Air will treat you like family. They've done that for me my entire life because they are like family to me. I grew up with Chris and John, 4th generation deep. Great product, knowledge of the product, commitment to customer service, 24-hour on-call maintenance, just some of the things you're going to get from Love Heating and Air. Perfect time right now to get your furnace checked. Make sure that you are good to go for the wintertime. Love Heating and Air, love-HVAC.com, Derek.
Remember Chet Holmgren? I kind of forgot about
Yeah.
Chet Holmgren.
Oh, yeah.
Big dude, big skinny guy from Gonzaga. Well, he's put on some weight, and he's also put in some big buckets. Huge three-pointer to force overtime against Golden State, and then Oklahoma City ended up winning that game. 36 points for Chet in that contest so far this season, averaging 17 and 8.
What's it say in his jersey?
Yeah, Love's like the truck stop. Yeah.
Love's like Love Heating and Air.
Oh yeah, like Love Heating it, but that's the truck stop logo though. That's not a
But
Love
Derek, I
logo.
get it. But there's the sponsor of the segment is Love Heating and Air. So why not
Yeah.
have a play on it? The fact that he's got Love on his jersey.
Well, I want to make sure people know that there's a difference. Because Chris and John Love aren't sponsoring Chet Holmgren. They might be interested in sponsoring Chet Holmgren, but
what I'm saying is, Derek, like Chet Holmgren, he's heating up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's perfect that he's sponsored by Love Heating and Air.
But that's the truck stop Loves.
I understand, but the segment is sponsored by Love Heating and Air.
I'm just making sure, like the one, like when you're going into Cincinnati, like off of 74.
In the tri-state area.
Loves.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, you see, I don't know what the tri-state is, but when you're in Indiana and you're going to Ohio, you see the Loves there.
And when you're in Indiana and you're going into Ohio, if you take the bypass of Ohio, you go through Kentucky. Tri-state, 3 of them. Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio.
So I guess, that's interesting. It's not really a true tie-in, I guess, but I guess, your brain works differently than a lot of other people. Let's talk college hoop. This is going to put us in a tough spot because Purdue is playing Tennessee as we speak right now. But they won their first game in Maui, speaking of Chet Holmgren's alma mater, over Gonzaga, and did so fairly comfortably, but despite not playing very well. Fletcher Lawyer continues to struggle, and that's worrisome. The good news is that Miles Colvin looks like a dude already.
But Derek, Fletcher Lawyer may struggle or hit walls this year, but this year, unlike last, they have guys that they can rotate.
Yeah,
through to
I agree.
relieve Fletcher Lawyer.
They got more depth now in Cam Hyde, and they have some other good players that they can kind of fill the void with. But the problem with Lawyer is that if he's not hitting shots, he doesn't do anything else. Right. So you really need him to make shots. But I thought Braden Smith was fantastic last night. Colvin hit some really big shots.
In a big win over Gonzaga.
And Trey Kaufman-Renn, who I'm kind of on. I'm not as on the TKR train as some other people. I thought he had a really nice game.
Did you see the video of, I don't know, I'm sure it was orchestrated, but the Caleb first breakaway dunk where the 3 players behind him are running
it was
and all
pretty
at
sweet,
the same time? That had to be planned, right?
No, I think that's just what you do now. Yeah. It's kind of like the bow and arrow thing.
Okay.
Everybody does the jump thing for the breakaway dunk.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And that was kind of the dagger in last night that ended whatever chances Gonzaga had of a rally. And then Indiana, people are going to make fun of this because Louisville is not good. They're probably better than the 4-win team last year, but they're not good. They're barely a Ken Pom top 150 team. And Indiana had a rally to beat them. But I just think, Jake, the first couple of months here, really the first 2 months for Indiana, this is about survival. Don't lose your season before it starts right now.
Derek, let me tell you something right here about this guy, okay? This is, I guess, a note to Mackenzie Mbako, who we know is a good player, at least by reputation. He came in with this is the thing about recruiting. I don't dispute that guy's going to be a really good player for Indiana. And Mike Woodson afterwards, I know, said like, hey, listen, it's ridiculous. Give him time. He's only playing. It's only his 5th game. It's absurd that anybody expects more from him. I didn't build that up. I'm not the one that was like smoking a cigar, doing a happy dance, asking for NIL money because he'd signed with Indiana. And, hang the banner, we got a 5-star, and started him right away. But if you're going to go out and get players that don't really have a connection to Indiana other than it offers them the most NIL money or the best opportunity to platform and showcase themselves for the NBA, that's college basketball in 2023, and I'm here for it. I get it. I'm all about it. If Indiana wants to go out and get the best players available and that's going to help them win, then yes, I'm here for it. I get it. I don't have a problem with NIL. That's the way college sports are today, and kids should get what they deserve, no doubt about it. But part of that agreement should also be that when they are there, they are giving their best effort and their maximum extent of their energy towards helping that team win. And Mackenzie Mbako looks like a guy that is going through the motions. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't have any energy at all. He doesn't shoot the ball well. I don't know why, and I hate to kick the kid because he's a young player, but he's a young player that we were told was going to be a great player right out of the box. He may be. He may be in time, but right now it's not.
So many of these guys aren't, right? I mean, Malik Renew, look at him now, and look at where Malik Renew was a month ago. I mean, he was contributing more than Mbako was.
But there are certain players that, like, when the first thing you do when you arrive on campus is get arrested because you refuse to cooperate with something, there's an entitlement that comes with that. And with that entitlement comes a responsibility, if you're going to be that way, to then back it up. Not doing it.
And I think Woodson's frustrated too. And and he said some of those things publicly about, I need guys that I got to play. We got to win. Encouraging for Indiana, it's not been a very encouraging 4-1 start. I think you're seeing maybe some growth from some of their bench players, CJ Gunn. Caleb Banks gave them really good minutes against Louisville. I just worry about Jake. They were 1 of 11 from 3. Look, if you're not going to take or make threes, you're just not going to win at a high level in today's basketball. You're just not.
Right.
Archie Miller kind of learned that too. You can't win like that. You could beat Louisville like that, but you were life and death with Louisville. You have to be able to take and make 3-pointers, period. And if Indiana's not going to do that, then they're not going to go anywhere this year.
I mean,
they're not ever going to go anywhere because this has been a problem for them for a long time. I do think
Indiana has they have really good players. How right now what Indiana is trying to figure out is, do they have really good players or do they have a really good roster? There's a difference.
It's the whole thing with Indiana, and this is their problem. Talent accumulation has not been a problem. The problem has been fit and making everything work together. And Indiana has had great individual pieces, Noah Vonleh and Romeo Langford and guys like that. It's about fitting them in with the team.
By the way, where's Romeo Langford? I'm going to look this up. Romeo Langford currently plays for what team?
He didn't make it out of camp with the Spurs, right?
That is correct.
Then I don't know. I probably haven't been watching as much NBA as I should, so maybe I'm missing where he is now. But I honestly don't know where Romeo Langford is.
I don't know that there were times last year. I don't know that Romeo Langford knew where Romeo Langford was. Right?
Indiana back in action on Sunday. Butler 3-1. They get a ranked FAU team in Orlando. They're playing in the ESPN Events Invitational starting on Thanksgiving. Feels like Butler always plays Thanksgiving. I remember they played like the Diamond Head Classic and Maui. A lot of their tournaments have been Thanksgiving. They'll face either Penn State or A&M on Friday, and then they'll play a third game on Sunday. To be honest, I haven't had the chance to watch them yet. I missed. I watched like 2 minutes of the Michigan State game, so that barely counts, and they weren't super competitive in that one. So I'm still kind of familiarizing myself with their roster. So I can't. I hate to say, like, this is a sports show, and I can't comment on a sports team, but Butler, I just don't know yet. I've got to be able to. This time of year is hard, right, Jake? Where you're watching NFL and college football and college, everything's kind of happening at once, and it's hard for me to watch everything and pay attention to everything. I'm paying attention to Butler, but
Romeo Langford, by the way, is playing for Steve. Remember Woj?
Yeah,
he plays for Woj, and let's see what he did in their most recent game. He plays for a team that scored 158 points the other night.
G League.
He is in the G League for the Salt Lake City Stars.
So his contract is Utah's, or is it somebody else?
He was waived by Utah, but then he signed with the Salt Lake City Stars.
Okay.
Their most recent game, he played 5 minutes. He was 0 for 1 from the floor, 0 for 1 from three-point range, had 1 free throw and 1 point, and a 158-point win. Scored 158 points.
Some guys who are heralded recruits don't even make it to the league at all.
You're right. So
just getting there, I think, is great. But, yeah, I mean, it's sad that it ended up in a lot of ways, and Eric Gordon was good enough to overcome it because Eric Gordon was a really special player. In a lot of ways, Langford's situation was very similar to Gordon's, I thought. I thought he entered kind of Gordon was a whole new level of toxicity, but it kind of a toxic situation with where the fan base was.
You're right.
Like, the fan base was just ready to make him king of all worlds, and when he wasn't that, even though he was a good player, they really turned on him, and I felt for him. We'll come back with quick hits. We might fit in some college football. We'll see if we have time. We got some other things to touch on, including the best holiday of the year coming up in a couple of days. It's Corey and Schultz, episode 162, ISC Sports Network.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Rolling right along here, Bailey Wood presents Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Time for our quick hits. Lots of NFL news. And I don't know if it's worth even saying that I was right, because I think a lot of people were right on this. But the Zach Wilson experiment predictably ends in failure. He's quarterback 3 now. QB 3 for Zach Wilson. It will be Tim Boyle.
Here's the thing. This officially
As the
ends
QB1.
Zach Wilson's NFL prospects as a starter, right?
I
I don't think he even ends up.
It officially ends his time with the Jets.
That's what I mean.
I think
But
somebody
but
else.
Nobody's going to sign him as a starter. Maybe a backup, right?
Yeah, but you know what? With all these injuries, can you be shut off to the fact? Like, if you're asking me, will Zach Wilson ever start an NFL game again? He
Fair.
could.
You know that. I don't want to say any names and throw anybody under the bus. You can probably figure it out. But during the combine, I talked to somebody who covers the Jets, and we were talking about Zach Wilson. At that point, Rodgers had not yet signed.
Okay.
So I'm like, is it going to be Zach Wilson? And they said, well, the only thing about Zach Wilson, he's a nice enough guy, but he's kind of entitled, kind of grew up a rich kid. And I guess when he got drafted and was doing like the introductory press conferences with all the media in New York, this particular reporter said, like, well, welcome to New York, off camera, welcome to New York. And, so, what do you think about being in the NFL? And he said, God, it's just amazing to think that, like, here I grow up or whatever, and, I'm never going to have to work a day in my life. It's like, well, there's some work that goes into being quarterback. It's like, it's like, well.
Yeah, there are busts where I think Mac Jones kind of falls into this category where Mac Jones at times was pretty good and was competent, but ultimately wasn't that player.
It's over for him, right?
Probably, at least in New England, and he'll probably get a chance to start again at least. Zach Wilson never had it.
Yeah,
like Zach Wilson never flashed anything. He was never any good. And now really the Jets have had back-to-back guys like that because Sam Darnold stinks.
You're right.
Sam Darnold was better than Zach Wilson, but that's not saying a whole heck of a lot. So they've swung and missed badly on 2 straight, and you wonder, not that Trevor Lawrence has been outstanding, but Trevor Lawrence is still, I think, solidified himself as a guy that's going to be good to very good for a long time. If the Jets hadn't won those 2 meaningless games at the end of that season, they would have been picking Lawrence. And instead you ended up with Wilson.
Yeah, you're right.
And you just show, like, the folks last year that were like, no, I want the Colts to beat the Texans. I want the Colts to win every game because I'm a Colts fan. It's like, no, man, it's fine to root for them to lose. That's fine. Because this week's 18 game against Houston doesn't mean anything. And the Jets are learning that.
How about
the hard
C.J.
way.
Stroud, by the way?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we spent a lot of time on him last show, but yeah, he's an excellent player. Steelers fired Matt Canada. He was their offensive coordinator, and they, offensively were just bad.
Local ties, right?
Yeah. I don't know how long was he at Indiana.
He is related to, I believe, our friend Jeff Canada. Wood
Really?
Warbler Coffee. Yes,
Wow.
They are cousins, I believe.
Okay. I'm going to look up how long he was at Indiana.
Where's he from? Brownsburg? I could be wrong on that. Rick probably knows.
He is from. He went to New Pal.
Okay, New Pal. That's right.
So
Other
he
side.
started as a grad assistant in Indiana. I didn't know that. I just knew him when he was a coordinator. He was a coordinator on, looks like the DiNardo into the Hepner and Lynch teams. So he was there. Wow, he was there 7 seasons.
I thought of this, by the way, Derek, off the top of my head. Since in my lifetime, I was born in 1972. Are Sam Weich, who was at Indiana for 1 year and then went to the NFL, and Terry Hepner, who sadly passed, are they the only 2 coaches Indiana's had in football that did not get fired? I think that's right?
Yeah, I mean, at least definitely since I've been following, because Mallory, DiNardo, Cameron, Lynch,
Wilson
were all fired. Yeah.
Tom Allen?
Yeah, if they lose to Purdue, it's a no-doubter that you move on. I
don't think they're going to do it.
I think there's a scenario where if they beat Purdue, he stays another year. I do. I might be wrong.
Indiana will fumble this because right now, as I've said before, the stock of coaching in the Big Ten has never been higher. And you want to get it now before all of a sudden the reality kicks in of like, yeah, well, guess what? Then you're going to have to play USC or Washington, not all the time, UCLA, Oregon. But right now there's a sexiness about the Big Ten because everybody's thinking like they're beating the punch on this power conference stuff and we got to get in on one of them. I am going to, as I've said before, Oregon State's head coach or Washington State's head coach or even Jimbo Fisher. Look, man, you just got $76 million to leave Texas A&M. Come here for $2 million. Prove everybody you can do it again. I'm doing something to improve my stock. Nothing against Tom Allen as a man. I think he's a wonderful human being and has done a lot of good for a lot of people that needed it, and that's appreciated. But from a football standpoint, 3-23 in his last 26 Big Ten games. Indiana, if they want to know why they're always in this position, it's because they're always a day late. Man up, do it.
Yeah, it'll end up being like Kane Womack or somebody probably. I mean, that's probably what it'll end up being. But, yeah, I think if you go 3-9, you didn't win either of your trophy games, so you lost to Michigan State and Purdue. You're a game worse than last year, and Illinois is not good. Michigan State's not good. Purdue's not good. You would have lost all three of those teams. Maryland's not that good. You lost to them. Rutgers is not that good. You lost to them. Like Indiana, for all intents and purposes, Jake, Indiana should have been at least a 5-7 team this year.
Right.
Probably a bowl team, but it is what it is. I mean, we don't have to spend this much time on the show talking about it always. Did we talk about – I don't remember if we talked about the plane taking off with the missing windows. Did we talk about that on last week's show?
I think you mentioned it.
I think I mentioned it, but did we actually – this is one of the quick hits. Plane took off with missing windows. No one was injured. They just kind of noticed, hey, it's really cold and loud in here.
How high up did they get?
They got all the way up in the air. Yeah, they took off and everything, and they got to 13,000 feet.
Isn't there like a suction problem where all of a sudden stuff started flying out and getting squeezed out the windows?
They're like, whoa, little windy in here. There were like 10 people on the plane. I guess it was just the crew that was flying back. But, as they approached 14,000 feet, they started noticing that the pressure systems were going, and, that was a problem, so they had to land the plane.
Do you know that when I just was on a flight, I was in the back of the plane, and we were coming in, and it was sunrise. Mm. And I looked out the window. It was one of those where the window was like kind of in front of me, like in between me and the. But I was like, that is the most beautiful sunrise I've ever seen. I was mesmerized how gorgeous it was. I took like 3 pictures of it because I'm like, I've never seen a sky in that hue. It was just fabulously gorgeous. And then we land. And I look out the window, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why is this window purple and everything else is – well, it's got like a shade thing, like you can hit the buttons. Oh. It was like on like filter 4. Oh. I had no idea. Gotcha. I'm like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So the Dutch sunrise, not as gorgeous as I thought.
Can I ask you one college football question? Mm-hmm. We talk about how this always works itself out, and maybe this will work itself out, but we're now entering the final week of the regular season. And there's this scenario here with the Jordan Travis injury where you have – 13-0, Florida State, and then you've got, let's say Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and then you have either Washington or Oregon and Michigan and Ohio State. Is there a chance that 12-1 Texas or 12-1 Georgia would leapfrog a 13-0 undefeated ACC champ? Because you look at it as the committee and be like, look, without Jordan Travis, they can't win it all, so why would you put him in?
I think you have to reward Florida State for what they've done.
So do I. But I was curious what you thought about that.
No, it's a
tough question, right?
I think if Florida State is undefeated, they are in.
And I agree. But I think you have to have that discussion, right? Because is this the 4 most deserving teams, or is this the 4 best teams?
Florida State. They would be one of the 4 best teams based on what they did over the years.
But Florida State with a backup quarterback is not one of the 4 best teams. That's my point.
You don't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
You take Jordan Travis off that team.
Here's the better question. Tough. Here's a better question, Derek. So Oregon is 4, right? Washington's like 11. If Washington beats Oregon, so Washington would be.
You're flipping those though, right?
What's that?
You meant Washington is 4 or whatever, and Oregon is, what are they, 7?
I don't think that's correct. Let me look.
Well, Washington's in front of Oregon.
So if Oregon, where is Oregon?
Right behind them. I'm trying to remember what last week's college football playoff. These are being revealed right now as we speak, but I think Oregon was 5.
But either way, if Oregon beats Washington, then they both have one loss to each other.
Yeah.
Does that cancel each other out altogether?
Yeah. Do they kick both of them out for Alabama or well, not Alabama because Alabama still has to play the SEC, but for Texas? Texas is the other one that I think is a one-loss team that's going to have a claim.
Okay, you're right. Washington's 5, Oregon 6. So
or if Ohio State loses close at
let me
Michigan,
tell you something right now.
Is Ohio State still on the table?
Derek, I have never been more sure about anything in my life than what I'm about to say, and I hate saying it. With every fiber in my body, I hate saying this. Not because I favor one, because I dislike the other so much.
I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to completely disagree, but go ahead.
Ohio State is going to beat
No.
Michigan.
No.
Ohio State is going to beat Michigan.
Nope.
I hope you're right.
Nope.
I hope I'm wrong. But Ohio State is going to beat Michigan.
They're not. They're not. I know Michigan has looked a lot weaker the last 2 weeks.
Ohio State
Michigan's
is going
not losing to
beat
Ohio
Michigan.
State. I still think Michigan's going to win it all, and I'm getting on shakier ground here because Georgia's starting to really turn it on.
Yes,
so
they
you're
are.
like, oh, God. But I still think Michigan's going to win the national championship. I think pound for pound, they're still the best team.
I think
don't
Ohio
think
State –
they're as good or as clearly the best as I did a couple of weeks ago.
Here's what I think. I think Ohio State –
See, I hope Ohio State beats Michigan. I can't stand Michigan.
I think Ohio State beats Michigan. And I think Oregon beats Washington.
Yeah.
And instead of taking Ohio State and Michigan, they actually then take both Washington and Oregon. And your 4 becomes Georgia, Ohio State, Washington, and Oregon.
If Washington loses to Oregon, then I think Texas goes in over them.
Think so?
Yeah, I think they're the team that's on the outside looking in that gets in.
But Washington has more impressive wins than Texas.
Yeah, true. The disaster scenario for the committee is Alabama beating Georgia and then having all of this happen here where suddenly Oregon wins, Texas is 12-1, Alabama is a 12-1 champ,
let me read
FSU's 13-0.
Let me read you the teams that Texas has beaten, okay? Rice, they did beat Alabama.
Yeah, they won at Alabama too.
Wyoming, Baylor, Kansas, Houston, BYU, Kansas State, Texas Christian, Iowa State.
Yeah, Kansas State's okay.
Kansas
All right,
okay,
Kansas is
I guess.
okay. It's not a great league. It's not a bad league.
The win at Alabama is impressive.
is the feather in their cap, for sure. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. IUPUI Jags report, Chateau Kitchen's Biter Bleep when we come back. Sorry, I tripped on that a little bit. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time. It is Corey and Schultz. You may think it's just Schultz and Corey because I'm the one that always kind of handles the ins and outs after the beginning of the show. But
I'm tired.
I would understand that, I guess. I'm going to set a timer here to make sure that we hit it right on the money. So we got about 6
You'll
minutos.
screw this up. I guarantee you'll screw it up.
Time for the IUPUI Jags report.
Love this.
IUPUI. All right. Not a great week for Jaguars basketball. Unfortunately, men's basketball had a tough stretch of road games. They fell at ISU and then dropped all 3 contests in the Rock Hill Classic at Winthrop this past weekend. Good news is that Jalen Counter continues to be a bright spot for the Jags. About 15 points per game, leads the team in rebounds. They'll host Cleary on Saturday at 2 p.m.
That's not me. That's Cleary, right?
CL. First 150 fans in the Coliseum received the second installment of this year's T-shirt series, which is a red Jags scripted shirt.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Women's
Coliseum's a great place to go see
hoops.
a game, man.
I love
the history
it.
there.
It's got a lot of character.
It's great.
They did a great job with that renovation. Fell to Marquette at home on Wednesday and UIC on the road on Sunday. They'll host Ball State 2 p.m. Wednesday, so a little afternoon baloncesto tomorrow. And then they'll hit the road, Sunday as they play OU, Ohio University at 1 p.m. Single game tickets for hoops and all winter sports on Ticketmaster, IUPUIJags.com/tickets. And then swim and dive 3-day House of Champions Invitational. They had 4 first-place finishes, 1 new meet record. Congrats to the men's team. They were the champions. Logan Kelly, Ben Kimmel, Youssef Magdi, all earned wins, and the women's team finished 6th with Emily Zeitlow earning her 3rd title of the weekend.
How perfect is it, by the way, that the IUPUI swimming and diving team, this is perfect right here, gets to actually compete at the natatorium. I mean, honestly, you're talking about a world-class venue with, Olympic trials on a regular basis, and for them to be able to go down and watch swimming in that venue is fabulous, right? And then we talked about, obviously, the Coliseum, the jungle, local athletes, Division I athletes, great chance to introduce kids to the college atmosphere, and I love it. I love everything about the IUPUI ability to be able to go out and get tickets. IUPUI
Jags.com/tickets.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like our friends down on the south side at the Dirt Yard, our Circle City wiffle ball friends, Brendan Dudas and Will Smithy and those guys. They get to play their league games at the Dirt Yard. I mean, literally, it's the best wiffle ball facility on the planet.
Do you know that Long Beach State University's baseball team's called the Dirtbags?
Really? No, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Weren't they banana? No, UC Santa Cruz is Banana Slugs.
I think that's right.
Gauchos is UCSB?
Santa Barbara?
Okay. Yeah. All the UC or the California schools always have cool names.
Irvine. Do you know Irvine's?
Anteaters.
Correct.
Yep.
Nice. Who's Riverside?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Ray can put it on the thing.
Is UC Riverside the Titans?
Who knows?
Fullerton's the Titans. What's Riverside?
Rake, you could do the mascots. And look, you have a family and you have other obligations. Can you still do the NBA player thing anymore or no? Okay. Yeah. There was a window there like 12, 15 years ago where we used to do this segment on the show on a rainy day where people would call in for tickets and they would have to name a jersey number on an NBA team, and Rake would have to say the player, and he would be able to just get it like 99% of the time.
UC Riverside is the Highlanders.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What is
That's a fairly common one. It's like a Scottish soldier, isn't it? A Highlander?
Or
I think that's what it is.
Highland.
Chateau Kitchens, buy it or Bull Bleep.
Shouldn't Long Beach be the Highlanders?
Brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens, chateaukitchens.com. Before and after pictures on their Instagram and Facebook accounts at Chateau Kitchens. Jake, statement 1. This is the year that Purdue makes some noise in the NCAA tournament.
Yep, bingo, buy it. What's your definition of makes noise?
I think an Elite 8 would suffice.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think winning 3 games would suffice.
They'll go to the Elite 8. Yes.
Sweet 16 would still be like, they've been in the Sweet 16 a bunch. Yeah, sure, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to be optimistic. They're a better team. They have more depth. They're really, really, really good. But the problem is that, and I know they were playing Indiana. UConn. This is November basketball for UConn too. That's what you have to remember. Like when these teams play, and you're like, oh my God, they look amazing, and then you realize they still got like 3 months to go. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I'm gonna buy it there. I don't have a statement 2. I have a statement 3.
Okay, what's statement 3?
The least good thing, the worst thing on the Thanksgiving table is pumpkin pie. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
That's hard to argue. I've always thought pecan pie, they should make a dessert that is just the interior.
Yeah.
Just the glaze.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
The worst thing, though, I don't know that this is a traditional Thanksgiving food, but my mom, for whatever reason, brings it and is like, does anybody else want something? It's like, Mom, you're the only psychopath that eats this. Beets.
Yeah, my mom likes beets, too. Yeah, it's that generation. Yeah. Beets are, no good anymore. Yeah, I hate beets.
Awful.
Buy it. I hate pumpkin pie. I love Hoagies and Hops. I love Chili Water Brewing. Chateau Kitchens.
How about this? Buy it or Bull Schultz.
Bailey and Wood Financial
Either
Group.
the Detroit Lions or Dallas Cowboys will lose on
IUPUI
Thanksgiving
Jaguars.
Day.
Love heating and cooling. The Lions are winning on Thanksgiving Day.
Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas going to No, Dallas going to win. They're both going to win.
Okay.
Bull Bleep.
All right.
For Jake Corey, I'm Derek Schultz. We'll see you next time. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Bye.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at iupuyjags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.